Hello, everybody, and happy Sunday to you. Welcome to your favorite Sunday sports stream. It is Point of View back at its regular time of 11 a.m. Eastern time after we watched the big game live last week. Here we are, no football, but where do we go from here? Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on today's panel. Right beside me, you know him. You've seen him many times before. He is MarkTalks. Mark, how are you doing?
I've had a bit of a challenging week, personal wise. My wife got very, very ill, and also at the same time, I now have a naked child run into the room.
Okay, that did not work out too well. Well,
I mean,
that's
it
the
did
thing
work.
alive.
It did work out. We got rid of Mark that quickly. It was great.
That's the only way it's possible.
Anyway, as
So
I was
that
saying,
happened.
that was a thing. Jesus Christ, bloody child. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a challenging week. My wife got very ill. There was a few shows that I was meant to do. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I was looking after the kids. I had to cancel TNA on Valentine's Day. And then I was meant to be with Ed last night. Unfortunately, I was just making sure the kids were and the wife were all right. So unfortunately, I couldn't make it. But I'm going to give my thoughts on NXT in a minute. And also Reading as well, because yeah, boy. Flavor Flay. He's not here, so I have to do it.
No, fair enough. Well, you don't have to do it, but
He's ill. You certainly don't have to do it, just so we're clear.
That's a good point. But right below him, you've seen him on all week. He's had a lot of stuff going on. It is old Ed. Ed, how are you doing this morning?
Doing all right. I was hoping to get up to the board game auction today, but unfortunately, no. The roads are not quite ready for that. So instead, I'm here with you, gentlemen. No. STG was very mad last night that he missed the show. He actually messaged me on Twitter. He's like, "I'm so mad I missed the show." I'm like, who would have thought NXT would have ended at 8:30 on a fucking Saturday night?
I was shocked because I know like it went live 5 o'clock my time here, and so I was expecting you guys to be done about 8 o'clock my time with the actual premium live event, probably going live shortly after. And I looked down on my screen because I've got it ready to go in front of me for it going live, and all of a sudden it's like OLE is live. I'm like, wait, what? And this is like 2.5 hours in. I'm like, how did this go about? So Ed, like how did it? Like, was this just they got right down to the matches? Were the matches short? Like, what ended up going down?
Everything did what it needed to do. Everything did what it needed to do on the tin. It was just a quality wrestling show where 6 matches don't need 40 minutes apiece to do the thing. You give them 8 to 15 minutes. You let them tell the stories they need to tell. Get in, get out, call it a day.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I thought the overall presentation of it, and I thought the fans really helped with the product as well. They were really invested in that arena into everything that was going on throughout the show. And I picked some of the winners, and there was one complete and utter shock that I was not expecting whatsoever. Yeah,
I picked that on pre-show.
I'm actually surprised because I did not see that coming at all. I thought at Stand and Deliver we would be getting Trick Williams versus Obafemi for Trick's final goodbye to then go up to Raw or SmackDown. But
I still think that that's possible. I think that the way this is done, you can do Oba versus. So after the show, I thought about this. You can do Oba versus Eddie at Roadblock because we still have the March premium live event. So you can do Eddie versus Oba. I still think that the match at Stand and Deliver is Oba versus Eddie. I think you do Trick at Roadblock, or worse, you do Oba versus Hendry at Roadblock, and we'll get into why I think that might be a possibility in a bit.
Because of Mr. Morella turning up.
The dictator, I mean, the director of authority did show up last night, and I have a feeling Roadblock might be a couple of interpromotional matches, and I think it could be the Hardys versus Naxium. I think it could be Masha versus... I think it's Masha versus Cora.
I think Marsha versus Cora is going to be happening at Full Sail.
No, I don't think they pull the trigger on that on live television. I think that one might be if they're doing it on TV, they're doing it in Cincy.
Yeah, it's one of those where the build up. It looks like the build up to me with Marsha and Cora. It looks like Zaya Brookside's going to be the next opponent for Cora Jade, because you've got what is the name? The big woman that won the Battle Royal recently on TNA, who will be facing Marsha Slamovich. I think it's either the Friday before, because I haven't actually got around to watch TNA yet, and that's something I will be doing soon to watch that. But I think as well, it was an interesting show. I think I love Josh Briggs is teamed up with a guy that I see as absolutely phenomenal. I love this man more than I think I was ever.
Much. That big tubby bastard.
He is, and it was the sumo pose. The bit that really I loved that got me to really like him was he did a sumo pose, and then his hands just went like this, and I went, "Okay, you've got me. He
Honda it. He did the E Honda stuff. It was great. No. For me, it's the bouncy on the top rope before he jumps.
Yes.
So yes. Bobby, I don't know if you saw this yet, but
no, I'm probably gonna get around to watching it today, but I know what happened, so it's all good.
Yeah, so Imamura grabs the top rope, he's on the top rope, and he grabs it with his hands, and he just starts bouncing the ropes to bounce his body, and then he just lets go and does a frog splash. It's so great. I love him.
Nice.
Oh, that big tubby bastard is so great. He has so much energy.
I don't know if it was you, and I don't know whether this is a Josh Briggs mentality in a match, but he seriously looked pissed off against Axiom. And he seriously did. It felt like it wasn't a work, but I don't know whether Briggs has got this new. Because ever since the Japan, he looks different. He feels different. He feels completely different character than what he'd done before. And I don't know whether this is a new character change or a new way that he looks at matches. I'm not sure. But the way that he went into this match and the way that he did it, I was like, are you really that? Or are you making me feel like you are? Because if this is believable, you're doing a great job of it. And I thought that. And Stephanie back here, I love this woman. I love
did
this
100
woman.
hand slap chat shit. He did indeed.
That woman is exceptional. Fatal 4-way match was brilliant. And then we've got the new Shield. Shield 2.
Timu Shield.
Timu Shield. And I tell you what, there's one bloke, there's a few of them, but there's one bloke who I love already. And he threw his body everywhere. He kicked someone in the corner, and then he threw, I think it was Josh Briggs, over the top by landing on top of his head to fall out of the ring. And I went, yeah, I love you. You look like a menace to society, and I feel like I'm going to love you. But
and they have them, and some of them have the weirdest names. So we have Cutler James, Dion Lennox, Saquon Sugars.
Great name.
I mean, we've seen Saquon before. Saquon is fine. And then to top it all off, the name that I was hoping they were going to give to Ricky Starks just to piss off the entire internet, Osiris Griffin.
It kind of would have been fun if they did that to piss off the internet. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Osiris fucking Griffin.
To be fair, Saquon sounds fine because he's just won the Super Bowl, so he's just gone, fuck it, I'm going to do a side quest and win everything in WWE in NXT before he goes back to the Eagles. But no, I really enjoyed the women's Fatal 4-way had it all, and I really enjoyed that they really pinpointed before that match that it was the 3 generations, not of Jade, but the 3 generations of NXT. You had the Bayley era, you had the Roxanne era, and now you've got the Julia era. And I'm like, you can see it. And you could also say as well that Cora Jade, she gets a lot of slack. And I will say her work of what she's done in NXT and the work she's doing now in TNA is something I can see now that she seems to be injury free, touch wood. She seems to be getting that momentum. I'm believing in what she's saying. I'm believing in the character that she's building. And I'm also really looking forward to seeing her as well. That's why I touch wood, STG. That was my good luck charm there to do that. So I'm interested to see because I'm still pinning Cora Jade to beat Marsha Slamovich for the Knockouts Championship. I still have a feeling that that's going to be the first title that's going to be defended on both brands. I don't know why, but I have that as that. I don't see a male superstar winning a title on either brand. I think the only way that could be done is by Lexus King's Heritage Cup, where they could put that between the two. There's no one really. TNA's done a really poor job recently of building superstars that you could go. You got Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth. Kazarian could potentially cash in that contract that he's got on someone. Maybe they do a thing that he could potentially cash that on an NXT title, on a North American Championship, or an NXT Championship. Who knows? But I have to say that show last night, and I want to give a special shout out to that young OG. The man is bouncy, and he did everything in that match. And the right winner won, by the way. And I will say this: the right winner won. Ethan Page. I love this man. This man needs to be on Raw or SmackDown very quickly, because my love for him is growing every single time I see him.
Well, you bring that up, though, but does everybody need to go there that quickly? There's a lot of big business happening on Raw and SmackDown right now, and one of the things I've heard some other people within the industry say is, do we dare to move people before we have something for them and allow them to get lost in the shuffle of what's going on with big business? If you threw anyone, and I mean almost anyone, with maybe the exception of Roxanne Perez because of the direction they're going with her right now, anyone else into the thrust of the main roster of Raw or SmackDown at the moment, I personally feel they might be too busy for anyone to just be thrust there without reason.
You've got, so on a week-to-week basis, here's the thing. You can only let some of these talents be there so long. And I hate to give this man credit, but I'm going to give him credit. In an interview this week, Booker T was asked about Duke Hudson. And he said, I've seen Duke from his start in Reality of Wrestling. I've seen him through his time at NXT. 6 years is too long for anybody to be in development.
Yes.
You can't, there needs to be a timeline on these talents. No. There needs to be a timeline on these talents. And as great as as hard as it is to do, it might mean that we need to start saying goodbye to people who are talented, but
I'm not ready.
No, it means that we need to get rid of. I'm talking about main roster talent now. It's time to thin out the main roster talent and start bringing in some of these young. I love Andrade, but he's not bringing anything new to the table right now. I wouldn't mind letting Andrade go back and start moving some of these pieces around, because you can't have a future without giving them an opportunity. And people like Trick can only stay in NXT so long. People like Ethan Page, they've been doing this for 18 years. His timeline is starting to run out. He's going to be in his mid to late 30s, I believe. Sooner rather than later. And you've got to start saying goodbye to some of these talents that don't need to be on television, like a Pete Dunne,
No.
I would get rid of LA Knight. I would get rid of Andrade, and I would bring up younger talents and give them an opportunity. Give Mello more of an opportunity. Get rid of Shinsuke. Like, there are some of these talents that we love that we might not need to start moving around or saying goodbye to, and start bringing up talent. Maybe it's not re-sign Finn Balor. Like, we've got to start having that uneasy conversation of getting rid of some of these lower to mid card talents to give these young talents a chance to flourish and thrive on this main roster.
I can see your point for sure there, Ed. At the same time, there's always that fear, though, that you allow them to go, and where is it that they go? Do you allow them to become feeders to another company's system? And I mean, a lot of people obviously eyeball AEW for that, but I'm not talking just AEW. There's a lot of companies out there that start to benefit when some of these bigger names become available as well, too. And there's already been a slew of releases as it is. Not saying, like, when you say step aside, I don't necessarily think in my mind that they have to step aside. Like, I believe that there is room for a Shinsuke or an LA Knight in moderation, like they say. Like, they're getting to that age now, too, even with an AJ Styles, where, yeah, they're pushing him out there a little bit right now, but he's going to start slowing down. And do you necessarily push them out, or do you welcome them in as the next crop of talents that are going to be backstage helping out NXT people with training, getting prepared? They've got so much going on with WWE Evolve, LFG, all these different things, that I believe that there's room for those experienced talents to stick around, to do spots, to help get some of these young talents over and everything. But also, like you said, to step aside enough to allow those young talents the TV time they need to move forward.
Yeah, it's a balancing, and I'm not saying necessarily release them and send them off into the wild. It's see who's willing to do what, but you've got to start making room on the top level for the younger talents to have a future, because Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and Gunther, they're only going to last so long, and you need to have that next wave ready to go. And NXT can only house you for so long with that crowd, which is roughly the same for the most part, week in and week out.
Yeah, they need to stop that.
I mean, you run an indie, you help work at an indie promotion. You're there at PPW every week.
Mm-hmm.
How many guys on that roster have been there 4 years, 5 years, 6 years? You know, what percentage of your roster are guys that are constantly the same every time at the same shows and the same venues every time?
There's a fair amount, believe it or not. There's a good portion. But in that time, we've also shuffled around where we've had a guy come in for up to a year, and then he, for whatever reason, moves on to said other promotion or somewhere else working. A spot opens up and we bring in another new face, kind of thing. So we do bring in new faces, but there is, I would say, at least a 65 to 70% of our roster that have been there from the beginning. But it also gives us an opportunity to allow them to work with some of the new talent, some of the trainees that we've had come up as well too, and get them prepared. So we are preparing for the next wave at all times, but we do it in a slow fashion. It also helps that we only run six shows a year at the same time. So there's not a whole lot of, I mean, there's some repeat business. Don't get me wrong. There's some times when Papa Smokes and I go to do recording of commentary, and it's like, I like these guys, but these guys again. And keeping in mind that we roll this back 8 years to High Impact Wrestling when we started doing commentating for them, there's still some of the guys from there. And it's like we might not have seen them wrestle each other for 4 or 5 years. But when it gets down to it again, it's like, oh yeah, we've seen this before.
And you better watch out, Munson, because you got El Assassino on your ass this next week.
El Assassino. Oh man, he's all talk, no game, just as per usual. We'll see what happens on the.
Oh really? Oh really?
By the way, if someone can post a clip of what he just said, that would
shut up. I already poked that bear.
I slightly disagree with Ed on this one. I don't think Andrade, LA Knight need to step aside. I think if we look at what's happened recently with Andrade, where that he took Carmelo Hayes and they had the best out of 4 match, where it absolutely showcased both of them and it made them best out of 8. It could have gone forever and I would have been absolutely fine with it. Them two showcasing, doing different things every single time. LA Knight as well, trying to help people on the microphone because he's on another level compared to some of the superstars that come through with NXT and trying to get them more screen time due to his ability. Pete Dunne is someone that if you let go, you've got a world champion. And I will hold this bandwagon for as long. I've seen this man live when he was in NXT UK and I saw him at Progress. This man could hold any company in any era, in any stage. You got to let him go. You can't keep get him a storyline, lose a few times, and he doesn't win. That's the issue Triple H has got. Triple H right now, I would love to see Pete Dunne turn up in TNA under the WWE and just rip shreds everyone because we know he can do it. Put Pete Dunne in a group with Imperium. Exactly what there's looking like, or what the wording around it with Ludwig and Pete Dunne maybe teaming up against Penta. Who knows? But you've got to let him go. No, not world champion like the Chiefs. It is very much of Pete Dunne is a phenomenal athlete. The issue with NXT, and this will always be my issue until they change it, is they do that bloody performance center every single week. You are not getting superstars ready by doing the same place every single time. WWE does not have Raw in the same place week after week. WWE does not have SmackDown week after week. They go to different places, different arenas to get a better perspective on how to do things differently in different places. It's one of those things that NXT needs to try and learn to do. And NXT needs to find a way of changing because they're not. The issue with NXT is we look at it as a developmental brand. I don't see it as a developmental brand anymore. It is slightly, but it's not. It's now becoming a third brand. So if you're going to make NXT the third brand because they destroyed AEW in the ratings and now they're not even looking at them, you're now going to have to treat them like a Raw or SmackDown. Get them out weekly, doing house shows in different places. You need to get these wrestlers more under the eyes of fans than what they're doing instead of relying on the coaches in the PC. The coaches in the PC should now be looking at doing the stuff with Evolve, with the Evolve show coming. That's when you need to start getting the coaches involved. These NXT talents that they've got going on right now, the storylines are okay. They're not good. They're okay. You've got Tony D'Angelo, the North American champion, for fucking what? The man, there's no point in him anymore. He's been in NXT. He's done the same shtick. He's been the same thing. It's boring. You've got Trick Williams, who's doing this bigger edge thing, was meant to be doing this and then loses, which then to me destroys him going to stand and deliver to having a hope of anybody beating Obafemi. You have to think that he could potentially beat Obafemi because this is wrestling. Anything can happen. But now it destroys any thought of him getting anywhere near a world title. You got Fraxium. The issue with the tag team division right now is they're going through everyone. There is no one apart from this Team U Shield that's starting to come that look like they could potentially do something. The storylines with champions at the moment, apart from the women's division, I'm going to leave the women's division completely separate because that's on fire. That is its own division and own show on its own. The world title, the North American Championship, and tag titles, as good as we like to praise Shawn Michaels for cooking, he has not been cooking with these storylines to make it believable that there's people out there that are going to beat it. The only people right now I see beating Fraxium are probably the Hardy Boys, right? They're absolutely running run shot through TNA at the moment. Haven't lost a tag team match in 10 years when they've tagged together. And then you've got no one else on TNA that could go over to NXT. You've got the Nemeth brothers, but if I hear Nick Nemeth's brother shout, "My brother," one more time, I'm going to slap the bitch myself. But that's it. You haven't really got Rascals. they lost out on the opportunity. But why do they deserve it again? They haven't really been doing much apart from helping Ace Austin against Wesley. There's issues here on NXT and TNA where they've both got the same issue. The teaming up is a good idea, and you've got fresh perspective of matches. But in the men's division and the women's division in TNA, it is so short. And you're going to see repeat after repeat after repeat. And it's the same with the world title. What they need to do is get that crop of WWE talent that may not be being used, right? Like your Pete Dunnes. Like, you can't take Ludwig because he's with Gunther. Like, other superstars.
You can separate the two of them. You can keep Gunther by himself. He doesn't need nobody.
No, but then you could also mold Gunther into creating a new Imperium where you're getting two younger talents coming from NXT that work under the greatest world champion that's ever existed. Or you could have Andrade go matches with.
You're gonna put him with Cody Rhodes to make a new Imperium?
No, no one wants Cody Rhodes. He's just getting beats up by bums. From put him with Kevin Owens. Make Kevin Owens have friends that want to help destroy people.
No. Don't get Kevin Owens friends. Kevin Owens doesn't do well with friends.
Because you know exactly what's going to happen in the end. You're going to have Kevin Owens versus that NXT talent in the future, and then that's when you're going to see if that NXT talent has worked well. You need what I'm very much. You'll see by my WWE 2K24 booking, right? You'll know that I love fractions. I love groups because what you do, you get more time for other people on TV and you can have fresh storylines. That's what WWE, NXT, and TNA need to do. Bolster the tag division and you will get those NXT talent. Get Fraxium out of NXT for the love of God and start getting other people involved as well. Fraxium, I can't see him being in TNA after Stand and Deliver. I think Stand and Deliver will be their last stand in NXT. I think they were gone. And I think as well as Trick Williams has to leave NXT. He's become boring. He needs to go to the main roster and feel fresh. You've also got Obafemi. I know he's going to be there a little while, but I want him up there. I want him to be the one who dethrones Gunther, but we're potentially going to see another way of doing it. There's so many talents in NXT that have been there for so long, and Ed is completely correct. You may not have a storyline for this, but you have as Ed was just going to say, you have a certain person who's having a year-long run that could potentially win a title, hopefully at WrestleMania, i.e. the IC title, the United States, whatever it is, and do his open challenge shit and get those talents in the door. That's what I want to be seeing. I want to be seeing something that we can do. And yes, I know the jaw dropped when I said Ed was right. I felt ill saying it as well.
Yeah, it had a good ring to it, I thought.
No, it didn't. It was horrible.
I loved hearing it. It's always nice.
No.
And remember, going back to the touring brand of NXT, and this is the last thing I say about NXT. Remember, NXT's supposed plan for 2025 is to semi-tour this brand. They've been on the road at the end of December. They went to Lowell. They opened the year in Los Angeles. They then went to Atlanta. They're going to Cincinnati in 2 weeks. It seems like every 2 or 3 weeks they're going to bring the show somewhere else and do it. These kids can't tour a full tour schedule. You can't. The Florida Loop is good for that. And then you bring this show to random places, particularly I think is a good idea. Bring it with SmackDown. Let these kids travel with the SmackDown brand, wherever SmackDown or Raw is going to be, whichever one you want to pair them with. Go ahead and have them run a smaller arena in the same city or event or area that you're running. So if you're running Boston with Raw or SmackDown, you can run Lowell with NXT. If you're running LA or Las Vegas, you can find another arena that you can fit NXT in. Don't overdo it, but kind of every few weeks, bring these kids on the road, put them in front of more people, because they need to be, like Mark said, they need to be in front of different people more often than they are. But at the same time, don't lose that special feel that is the PC. No matter how big NXT ever got, the one thing that always made NXT feel special was Full Sail.
Yeah.
That connection to that Florida group of fans that are constantly there and constantly loud is important. But yes, you need to keep touring with this brand. And every few weeks, you need to do a live show from someplace different to do something. I think that's a big deal that they need to do. And it seems to be the 2025 plan for NXT.
I hope they do, because you are right. You are right, and I'm very much of... I think it would be more easier for them to do the SmackDown group, because if you're going to go with Raw, then they've got to fly back, go into NXT the next day. They're not Bayley, who can do everything every day at the moment. So touring with the SmackDown, where they have that weekend to recover from that, and I think that's a good idea and a good show with that. But they have to be touring. That they have to be, and I think it's the right thing to do. And I think that I can see it happening where they're going to slowly phase out that performance center for NXT. For NXT, and they're going to bring that Evolve in for the performance center, because that's the next group, and you're going to have NXT becoming the third brand that Triple H created when he made that Shockwaves with all the takeovers and the amazing stuff when he brought in Adam Cole and all those type of people as well. So I want to see. But they need better storylines. They need better ways of doing things. They're running through people at the moment where they need to be more. They need to do the shock value like they did last night with Eddie Thorpe, but maybe do a shock value with TNA. You've got Santino Marella, the dictator of TNA, with his daughter last night, and it did make me laugh when Ava just looked between them and went, "Is there?" and then just didn't say anything between the both of them with Ariana Grace on there. But yeah, no, NXT has a very bright future. We're not shitting on NXT before anyone says anything. What we're doing is we're giving ideas of what we want to see from NXT, because we love NXT. We want to see the growth of NXT. We want it to be the third brand, the first brand, the second brand. Can it overtake Raw? Can it overtake SmackDown? Can it do all of those type of things? That's what we want to see. We want the best that it can be, and we want to go to places like England where you can bring it over fucking here, and we can have NXT for once in our lives.
You got NXT once.
Yeah, and I was there. It was ages ago. I went to a live show of NXT. Asuka was champion, and she had a tag match. I can't remember who it was with. I think it was Io Sky. I can't remember who she played against either. In that one, she was over here. She was in the main event. Bobby Roode was there. I remember that as well. But he was in. They come to Brighton.
Glorious domination.
Yeah, Fraxium are just on another level. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, let's move away from the WWE chat. Again, if anybody wants to go more in depth with what went down last night at Vengeance Day, of course, the replay is now available on YouTube of Ed and Astrid giving you the post show, but also encourage you to go check out their preview show with their special guest, Mr. Santi Zapp. Ed, before we go into the next segment, you've got a video to play for the next segment. Just a quick, what was it like working with Santi Zapp on that episode?
Santi was incredible. He was a true professional. It was so much fun. Astrid's just killing it with these booking opportunities, and I'm like, really? You could get that? All right, let's do that. Sure. But it was a great time. We had a good time. He's a great person to work with. Hoping to work with him again in the future. So yeah, it was a great time. Go ahead and give it a watch. We tried a new style for the pre-show, so go ahead and check that out and let me know and let Astrid know what you thought about it.
Awesome. Yeah, check that out. And I know we're going to move on from there, but Ed, you had a video you wanted to play, and that's something brand new to bring up here today.
So this is the NBA All-Star Weekend. As we know, Bayley was in the celebrity version of the All-Star Game. And this was a dunk last night, the dunk contest that it's just here. Let's just watch.
Let's do it.
Gotta catch it first.
Oh my God! Wow!
Let me
let's see it again.
Right. Gotta catch it first.
Damn! That was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah. Mac McClung last night jumped over a convertible, caught the ball, also while jumping over the dude in the car who's handing him the ball, and dunked it all in one motion.
And all this while Mark is not frozen. He is just stunned
by
what he's just seen.
That did receive a perfect.
Ridiculous.
That did receive a perfect 50, by the way. Just so
I would hope so.
What else could the man do? What, do a front flip over the top of it at the same time? Jesus.
Stop and take a selfie halfway through or something like that.
That is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm watching since 2000. Well, apparently you need to start again, STG, because that was badass. That really was badass.
When I saw Ed say that he wanted to show a video, and I thought he was going to take the piss out of something. And then I showed it. I was like, this is going to be like someone's messed up horribly here, and it's going to be hilarious. And then there was no mess up, and it was just absolutely ridiculous.
And the best part about that one is he called his shot a few weeks before with an NBA writer where he showed them what he was planning on doing. And the dude's like, you're fucking with me, right? He's like, no, that's what I'm doing in the dunk contest. He's like, well, you got one perfect score now. All you got to do is figure out the other 2 dunks. Oh, that was one of 3 dunks he had to do last night.
Did he win it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he didn't win it after that, I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. If he didn't win after that, I'd be curious to know who did beat him, because that was impressive. Very impressive. So it's awesome addition to the show today, Ed. Yeah. I know Mark's got some stuff to talk about too. That was all you had from that, Ed? Or
yeah, that's all.
Okay, well, we're going to let this roll over to Mark right now to talk a little bit about F1. He's got an F1 watch along coming up on Tuesday here. So, Mark, why don't you let the people know a little bit more about F1?
So, before we get to F1, I just want to absolutely give a shout out here to Harvey Nibbs, the Reading central midfielder, who last night we were under the cosh against Rotherham, against the biggest, fattest manager known to man in the Rotherham dugout, Steve Evans, and we come back in the 93rd minute to get a penalty to win the game. Absolutely ridiculous game. I want to give a massive shout out to the Reading players for bouncing back after the horrible game we played Tuesday night. Undefeated in the last 5, 3 draws, a couple of wins, 1 point off the playoffs, a couple of points off Wrexham, who we're going to be playing here on the 11th of March, where we're playing a home game. But we got second in the league coming up on Saturday, early kickoff on Sky. If in the UK, or if you can watch it abroad. I don't know how you can watch it abroad, but yes, I want to give a massive shout out for the bounce back ability. But we're now going to go into for Tuesday. This is Formula One. Now, if you don't know anything about Formula One, I'm going to do a quick breakdown, and I'm going to show you a video in a second. The video will be for the intro that we're going to be having for Tuesday. But I'm going to explain to you exactly what you're going to be expecting for Tuesday. So on Tuesday, it's the 75th anniversary of Formula One. Now, we know that they're going to do a special where all 10 teams, all 20 drivers, all of the team principals will be in the same arena at the same time, at the O2 Arena. For the first time, I think, ever, that they're doing this. They may have done it before, but I wasn't alive for that or cared about Formula One at that point. But they're doing this special show. So basically, what you will see, and if you're a Formula One fan and you're trying to understand this, so Formula One are doing this special event, but not only that, teams are still trying to do their own special event where they're trying to release the new car for 2025. Now, this is where it gets stupid and dumb, okay? So, the cars that will be on the stage will be the 2024 season cars with the 2025 liveries. You will the shows that they will do individually will be what the car looks like in 2025, but without the liveries, because they have to show it all at once on this show. It's dumb. It's stupid. No one thought this through very well. So we're going to be having... So all we're caring about is when you look at the car, you're not looking at the design of the car, of what it's got, what mechanics that they're going to be doing differently for the last season before the complete change of the rule regulations that happen in 2026. So all it is, on Tuesday, we will be looking through. Now, if you don't know who the Formula One teams are and you want to have a little insight, I've made a special video. You will be seeing this on Tuesday. This will be the intro for it. Here it is. So those are the teams that we will be witnessing on Tuesday night. On the event, 8 o'clock UK time, 5 p.m. No, 3 p.m. Eastern, which will be for that event where it is live, I think, on YouTube, if you want to watch along with it, and it's also live on Sky Sports if you're in the UK. I'm presuming, I'm guessing it's on Sky Sports. Sky Sports are doing everything with Formula One this year. Where I will be sitting down, we're talking about the liveries. Once it gets photos are posted online, I will be showing it on here straight away. We will discuss it, how ugly, how nice, how beautiful, anything. We'll be hearing from the drivers this year. Lots of new rookie drivers coming in this year. The most amount of rookie drivers this year that's ever happened in Formula One history. You're going to be hearing from Lewis Hamilton for the first time in a Ferrari in front of a packed out arena. Can Max Verstappen, can Red Bull do something special after their car was falling apart and only Max Verstappen could drive it? And can Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri finally win the World Championship here? We're going to be seeing there. And there is, I've been watching a lot of podcasts. I always watch a lot of podcasts. There's a podcast, if you haven't around, called P1 with Matt and Tommy. They're absolutely incredible for new starters, as long with everyone else as well. And I agree with what they've been saying. There is at least this year could potentially be 6 drivers fighting for the World Championship. So it's going to be a very interesting season. I know Andre's looking forward to it as well. He's going to be in the chat when we discuss about that. And he's going to be around most Sundays as well, where we're going to be discussing things about Formula One. So hopefully you stick around. Make sure you subscribe to OLE, because that's where you only hear my thoughts on that as well. And hopefully the season starts in March. We've got pre-season training event, whatever it's called now, coming very soon for Formula One, where we will be discussing that on the Sunday show about the testing, about the good and the bad in the cars. So make sure you're here for that. There you go, Bobby. Over to you.
All right, over to me. Well, I mean, during that time, my heart started to break because it's 1-0 Tottenham in the match against Manchester United. So I officially currently hate football. So that's how my day's going so far. But yeah, it's one of those. We don't have football for a while, gents. Like football, American football, NFL football. We've wrapped that season up.
Told you, USFL starts in March.
USFL starts in March, eh? No, that's
not happening.
That's not a thing for Mark. Why not?
It's shit. It's awful. It's so bad. I watched one game and I went, yeah, I'm all right.
Ed likes it. I mean, I could be torturous. I could be torturous and tell you guys you're watching the CFL, but
I don't know. I think I might want to rather just watch the old XFL with Jim Ross. I was
gonna say there's so few teams in the CFL. It wouldn't be hard to pick one that you like either.
Oh,
they have a team called the Eskimos.
Not anymore. Nope, they had to change.
Oh,
they had to change. They're the Elks now.
Fuck that shit.
Hey, once upon a time, this is how creative our football was. At one point in time, not only did we have the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but we also had, get this, the Ottawa Roughriders in the same league.
By the way, that's such a naughty name as well. Such a naughty name. You could take that in so many directions with that as well. It's
been done. It's been done, just not on here.
All right, since we're a little strapped for conversation here, do we want to see a couple of other Mac dunks from this year?
Yeah, because that's better than watching my kid Manchester game right now.
All right, hold on. So we all saw the car.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me.
After this, I'm going to do a controversial topic, and we can be quick on it.
We'll see.
It won't be that controversial. Don't worry. You're not going to get cancelled.
I've seen you before.
Oh, no! Vince Carter! Young man!
What you're
as he's spinning! Spin, young man! Oh! No!
So to put that one in perspective, the kid on the bottom holding the ball is spinning on one of those like 2-foot
yeah,
I know that, like rolls like you can roll forwards and it's like it's like you're walking but you're not.
Yeah.
He's on one of those and you got the guy on the ladder and he dunks both balls. Then we got
segue.
Hold on. Yeah, that's the segue.
Yeah.
And then here, this one doesn't have audio, but touches the
Oh
hoop,
my god!
and then two-handed slam.
Wow.
Do you know what would have been more
Hello,
impressive?
Ophelia.
Right?
How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Do you know what would have been more impressive if he landed on the guy's shoulders and just sat there?
What do you expect of these guys, Mark? Like, it seems like just when they just do one of the coolest things ever, you're like, well, had only they taken it 10 steps further than awesome. I mean, you know,
And
who the fuck are we to criticize these guys? They're athletes. We're sitting here on a fucking show on a Sunday afternoon, barely able to get out of our fucking chairs, and we're going to criticize somebody who's flying through the fucking air, who's doing a moonwalk through the goddamn air. Come on, man.
And to put it in perspective, this is Vince Carter with one of the best dunks ever in I believe this is the 2001 that STG mentioned earlier. This is 25 years ago.
Here is the man that this crowd wants to see. Vince Carter, who had told Kenny Smith that he is.
Oh, hold on. I gotta.
Come on, Vince Carter. You're taking forever to bloody do this now, man. Come on, man.
And here is Vince Carter with his first shot.
He didn't jump over a car, though, did he?
He did not jump over a car.
I wouldn't have doubt that he could.
Pathetic excuse of a dunk.
By the way,
next week on the show, we're going to see Mark outside doing a dunk on a basket. That's the new rule.
I have a basketball court in a park that I walk to and take my kids to. I'm going to buy a ball at some point in the next few weeks, and I'm going to see if I can do it. And I'm going to video it and edit it out.
Next week.
We need this video. We need this video stat. Like this is not a request at all. Yeah, there we go. It's a kid's basketball net. Look at Mark trying to dunk it 2 feet.
If it's by the way, if it's a kid basketball court, I am full on going like I'm going to get one of those little toy cars and put it right in front of the camera so it looks like I'm jumping over a car and I'm dunking on it, and it looks bigger than
I'll know the difference. I'm calling you out. If this isn't NBA regulation size, you have to like pull off the same kind of maneuver that this guy, if not better. And with all this shit talk, it better be better than what we saw today.
Right. Controversial.
But with that said, gentlemen, we are going to wrap up the show. So that'll be it for us here today. We're going to start with Mark. Mark, what do you got coming up? Where can the people find you?
We have got, I think it is today, the last night of the Royal Rumble, which will be tonight, which is the Women's Royal Rumble. We know what's happened during the week. If you haven't seen the Men's Royal Rumble, was fun to record there with Bobby and Lauren, who were on commentary with myself. And last night was tribal combat for the very first time, where it was Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu in one of the most bloodied match that has ever existed in my universe mode. Yes, I am. That will be coming to you. We are going to be doing our build to WrestleMania now. So the build that will be starting tomorrow will be the build up to WrestleMania. So make sure you go and check that out. And on FM24 on MarkTalks Football, we are going to be trying, for the love of God, to try and get South Shields to the Premier League. So make sure you head over there and make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, because we are live every single day. I will be back here Tuesday at 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern, where we are going to be doing the F1 launch. And then I will be back Friday with potentially Astrid and Brett, where we will be discussing. Okay, my voice decided to change different language halfway through that. Where we were discussing all things TNA. So make sure you're there for that. And yeah, make sure you come and give OLE a subscribe and a like and stick around, because I know that they've got 7 days a week now. Did you say, Bobby? I saw earlier 7 days
Calendar's
of content coming out. The calendar's completely full. So make
Yep.
sure that you go and check that out as well.
Sounds good. Ed, what do you got coming up, and where can the people find you?
People can find me, EdFries12584 on Twitter and Blue Skies. You can find me on twitch.tv/EdFries2002. Unfortunately, Andre is under the weather, so we are not going to be able to do Marvel Talk today. However, we'll be back with a Marvel Talk this Wednesday night as we talk all things Captain America 4. We might even get into our thoughts on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Who knows what else we're going to get into on that show. And of course, we'll be back Tuesday, me and Astrid, as we talk all things Jordan Grace and the absolute one himself, Ricky Starks, as we find out what his name is and what the name on his contract is going to be. That's it for me this week, though.
All right, that's it for you. As for myself, a pretty standard week. Thursday, I am going to be doing Ring Respect Radio. This time, Trip Through the Territories is happening. Astrid will be joining myself, Bob Smokes, to talk about the history of Puerto Rican wrestling this coming Thursday night. You can find me back here again for Point of View next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and every Saturday over at Prairie Pro Wrestling. You can find myself, Papa Smokes, calling the shots on a brand new match for you from our vaults. Of course, next Saturday, I will also be live at Prairie Pro Wrestling filming our next show, our first show of 2025. Looking forward to that and doing my best to avoid a beatdown from Mr. El Assassino. Hopefully,
yeah, you're not going to be able to avoid that, motherfucker.
Hopefully, he doesn't remember what I said by then. I hope he's got some short-term memory.
I'm going to make sure I have Papa Smokes message him on Friday.
Don't give Papa Smokes any goddamn ideas. He doesn't need them. But anyway, everything else, as always, you can always find everything here on our local establishment, OLE Podcast, over across all social media, as well as here on YouTube and Twitch, where we like, subs, follows, all those wonderful things, thumbs up, notification bells, and comments if you're watching on the replay. That's going to be it for us this week on Point of View. And until next Sunday, take care, everybody. Have a great day.